Your game has a hero, NPCs, and whole world to explore. The only problem, you need a magnifying glass to see any of it. Today we fix it. Hello. Before we scale everything up, let's first examine what we have at the time. Our game using 16 by 16 pixel tiles, game map is 50 tiles width and 40 tiles height, which give us a native game size 800 by 640 pixels. Current window size allows us to render the whole map, but still not enough to properly see the character, map properties, etc. There are several ways to scale things, but simplest way is to use pygame scaled flag. Actually, I already using it to upscale window to 1600 by 1280 pixels. So, what this flag is doing and how we can use it. As pygame documentation states, on high resolution displays, tiny graphic games show up very small, so that they are unplayable. Scaled scales up the window for you. But they doesn't explain how exactly Windows is scaled. So I checked pygame source code and have the answer. Pygame getting usable display size and then scale game window to maximum possible value that keeps original Windows ratio. For example, my screen resolution is 2560 by 1440 pixels. Usable display size will be a bit less, since I have status bar at the bottom, but we can ignore it at this point. So let's calculate how much we can scale our window on both dimensions by dividing usable size to the requested window size. First the width. As you can see, we can upscale window 3 times by the width. Now the height. As we need to keep window proportion, we can only scale window by the lower scale factor, which is 2 in our case. That's why my current window is scaled 2 times. Okay, cool, but it didn't make any big difference. 2 times scale is still not enough to properly see 16 pixel sprites on the modern display. But now we fit the whole game into the window. Let's see what will happen if we will decrease window size in half. Now window can fit only a quarter of the map, and since window is smaller than the original, pygame can upscale it up to 4 times. I know, this is quite counterintuitive. We make window smaller to make game looks bigger. Let's introduce several variables so we can control scale factor. First of all, we need to define original game size. Next, the scale factor and screen width and height affected by scale factor. And finally, update the screen initialization code using new screen dimension variables. Cool. Now we are able to clearly see the portion of the map, but we didn't see nor the player, character, nor the NPCs. Game is crisp, but useless. We need a way to follow the action. We need a camera. But what's a camera? Imagine you are shooting the movie. The stage is set, all actors at their positions. To make a perfect shot, you need to frame it by moving right, the camera. So camera is just a position from where you're looking at the world. Even simpler, it's an X and Y offset. Okay, let's start drafting the camera class. And then init the camera at the start of the coordinate system. Now, as we draw in the world and game objects, we have to subtract camera position. You can think of it as moving the wall underneath the camera, not the camera itself. Game map is first to go. Let's pass camera to the draw map call and subtract camera x and y coordinate from the tile coordinates. Let's test it by moving camera somewhere at the scene. We can even make camera flyby effect incrementing camera x coordinate in the game loop. As you may notice, during the flyby there are no characters in their usual places. This is because we have to render them with camera offset 2. Let's fix it starting from the base game object class. And then NPC class. Only thing left to do is to update draw calls in the game loop. Okay, now everyone on their places, but our camera is kind of cinematic, not a game camera. For our game, camera should focus on the player character. Let's implement camera focus method that will allow us to control camera focal point. And let's focus camera on the player. As long as code doing exactly what we asked for, I assume it's not something you want to see. A player character is on top left corner, but it should be at the camera center. Okay, we have to subtract half of the camera width and height from the player position, so it will be in the middle. Let's do it. But first we have to make camera know its size. And then shift camera position in the focus method. Much better. But camera shows the black border behind the scenes. To fix this, we should not allow camera to position itself outside the wall boundaries. Easy fix. If camera coordinate is less than 0, place camera at 0 coordinate. If camera coordinate plus camera size greater than the wall size, then place camera at the edge of the wall. Let's start by passing to the camera map dimension. Then implement boundary check in the focus method. Cool, now camera is placed properly, but I noticed that player movement is broken. If you remember, we passed screen size to the player movement to check the boundaries. But it's wrong, because now these values are not equal to the game world size. Quick fix and we are good. Good. Now we can move freely, but camera is static. I want to add ability for camera to follow the specific game object. So it will follow player by default, but can be switched to another object, such as NPC, in cutscene for example. To do so, I will implement camera follow method and will call it inside the game loop. Nice, camera is following the player and also honors the game map boundaries, as we intended. Technically, we could call focus directly in the game loop, but having follow method that accepts the game object feel like a cleaner API. The game loop shouldn't care about coordinates, it just say follow this thing. Let's quickly test camera follow NPC. Nice. Now I can say we've done with the camera for today. And that's it. We started with a game that was technically correct, but practically invisible. Now we have a proper scaling system and camera that follows the action, stays within the boundaries and can even be switched to any game object we want. Next time we will animate the characters. So stay tuned, like the video, subscribe to the channel and see you next time. Ciao!